Welcome back to Inside Games, the only channel brave enough to go outside. Yeah, we'll do that.
Damn, I guess they got video games outside now.
Actually, yes, thanks to our almighty Lord and Savior, Gaben.
That's right, gamers, the time has come. We have a reason to put on pants again.
So throw those jorts in the washing machine, because it's time for Hot Gamer Summer. I hate saying that word gamer, man, I hate it.
Valve, the PC saviors responsible for Half-Life, Portal, and the entire Steam platform, announced the Steam Deck on July 15th. The Steam Deck is a Linux-powered handheld PC that ships with Steam OS and offers a Switch-like experience, but again, it's a PC!
IGN ran the exclusive preview, revealing that the device is a legitimate Linux desktop computer that allows you to download third-party applications and even install other game stores and operating systems like Windows, the Epic Game Store, etc. That's I know, wow, I can't believe they let you put Epic on it.
And if they let you put Windows on, that means you get Xbox, which means you get Game Pass. So it is a pretty awesome machine, which is the benefit of it, the borders being open. Pretty cool stuff.
Valve co-founder Gabe Newell actually teased this out back in May when he spoke to students at Santa Maria College in Auckland, New Zealand. After being asked whether or not Steam games would come to consoles, Newell responded with, quote,
"We will get a better idea of that by the end of this year."
And the same month, Ars Technica released a report that the company was working on a, quote, Switch-like portable PC designed to run a large number of games on the Steam PC platform via Linux.
And it sounds like they were right, because that's exactly what Valve announced. Interesting caveat there, though. Since it is a large number of Steam games, because it is running on Steam OS, so it's only the games supported on Linux that'll run on it out of the box, or you buy a Windows key and install Windows, and then you got the whole thing. So, you know, just a little disclosure there.
IGN's coverage reveals more details about the unit, including specs, models, and the potential of a docking station.
Control-wise, if you've used a Switch, you pretty much know what to expect from the Steam Deck. It's got some gamer buttons on the back, though, for paddles that can be mapped to other button presses.
Yeah, similar to the paddles on the Xbox Elite controller, if you've used that, you know, Gamer Pro, eSport controllers have got them all too. However, I'm going to say, right out of the box, there's no way this thing controls as well as the Xbox Elite controller. No way.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, the Steam controller wasn't the best. And like the buttons and sticks on the index controllers, they're okay. But they don't feel as good as Xbox controller inputs do. It also looks like the Steam controller clawed its way back out of the grave. Just talked about that thing. So the deck also has 2 trackpads on the front. Valve also implemented gyro controls for people who want a little more physicality with their aiming.
Power-wise, the handheld comes with 16 gigabytes of RAM, a 4-core AMD Zen 2 with 8 threads, and 8 CUs of RDNA 2 for the GPU.
Ooh, that translates into 1.6 teraflops of compute power, according to Verge senior editor Tom Warren. By the math, comparatively, that puts the Steam Deck smack dab between an Xbox One S on the lower end and the PlayStation 4 on the higher end, with Valve saying that it, quote, runs the latest AAA games and runs them really well.
There'll be 3 versions of the Steam Deck, mostly scaling up in storage. The deck will come in 64 gigabytes, 256 gigabytes, and 512 gigabytes, with the 64 gigabyte version using a slower eMMC SSD, solid state drive, and while the other 2 use the faster NVMe drives.
Yeah, that's a little weird, because yeah, it is a notch down from a base PS4. Granted, so we haven't gotten there yet, but the display is 720p, so if it's only running at 720, okay, I get it. And also definitely not on the max settings. You know, you're not maxing everything out here, you're just putting it on medium or low to get it to a playable frame rate. I think that's more what they mean.
For the display, the Steam Deck will have a 7-inch 720p touchscreen, and the 512 gigabyte model screen will feature, quote, premium anti-glare etched glass.
The deck will also feature an SD slot, which Valve's Lawrence Young says can be, quote, whatever size you want. Great. Other goodies include Bluetooth, a 3.5mm headphone jack, built-in microphones, and Wi-Fi capabilities.
Battery life will fluctuate between 2 to 8 hours, depending what you're using the device for, which is really to say how many simultaneous pornos you're watching on how many tabs.
That's right. This is the PC platform after all. No more watching porn on the Nintendo 3DS browser. So while Valve is planning on releasing their own first-party dock in the future, there are no additional details outside of that right now, probably because they haven't made it yet. For those who don't want to wait, you can still hook the Steam Deck up to a TV or monitor using a USB-C cable.
Yeah, I could do that because it's a PC. I could do all the PC stuff that a normal PC can, including installing other operating systems and gaming storage, which is so cool.
It's a PC. We don't think people should be locked into a certain direction or a certain set of software that they can install. If you buy a Steam Deck, it's a PC.
So accordingly, again, it's a PC. The Steam Deck is capable of being docked to a monitor and keyboard to play games. You can exit out to use browsers, other third-party applications. Again, even replace the operating system with something like Windows.
Valve doesn't particularly recommend doing these things, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, they don't want to have to run support when you bought your Windows install and get you, like, figure out how to set everything back up again. And again, because it's a PC, it supports mods for games and even potentially VR titles, although Valve specifies that's not what the Steam Deck's really designed for. It doesn't quite have that power.
Unfortunately, the pre-orders for the Steam Deck will have gone up by the time you are actually watching this video, so it may be sold out, but the system is set to release sometime this December.
64, 256, and 512 gigabyte models will sell for $399, $529, and $649 US respectively.
Yeah, that just about covers all the news. Now, let's get chatting.
Yeah, there's so much to buzz about. This is really, really interesting, and it's a weird move and an interesting move, and it raises a whole lot of questions.
So it feels like there are two big angles on this. Does the Steam Deck make business sense in the first place? And second, does this appeal to customers?
So let's talk business first. We'll get to the spicier stuff later.
In an interview with IGN, Valve President Gabe Newell, our Lord and Savior, made it sound like Valve has taken a hit on the cost of hardware to offer a more appealing price.
Price point was secondary and painful, but you know, that was pretty clearly a critical aspect to it. But the first thing was the performance and the experience. Was the biggest and most fundamental constraint that was driving this.
Although when you consider that Steam gets a 30% cut of all the sales in their store, suddenly it makes a lot of sense why Valve would be okay selling hardware at a slight loss.
Traditional console economics sell hardware at a loss and make money back by taking a cut of all software sales. We have been doing this for years and years and years and years. Yeah,
it's an established pastime, which honestly makes it all the more impressive that Valve is shipping it as an open, unprotected PC. You know, Steam is going to be the default experience, and it's clearly the one that a majority of owners will end up using, but still pretty chill of them to even allow for other stores to be installed. They're basically potentially selling hardware at a loss, and then also even giving away their store cut on top of it.
We don't have some tying ratio. We don't say, oh, and then we have to sell 8 games, you know, for each one of these, incremental 8 games for each one of these cells, otherwise it doesn't make sense. Our calculus is more just sort of like, is this the right product, and is it a great way to test out the assumption that there's a huge amount of value both to game players and game developers to extending the PC ecosystem in this direction, right? That's the real test more than anything else.
In terms of sales, Valve is already expecting to move a few million, and beyond that, it'll be up to the market, as it always is.
So predicting sales in the millions might seem pretty aggressive, given that Valve's other swings at PC hardware didn't do that. Specifically, their last attempt to push a SteamOS-powered PC, they called that a Steam machine back in 2015, and boy, it was dead on arrival.
These days, it's just an empty Steam page. Dust to dust.
But this has a Switch form factor, and Nintendo's already done a really good job sort of educating everyone about how to use those and what they're good for. And the hardware is coming directly from Valve, so there might be a reason to believe this could reach a market that Steam machines couldn't.
Yeah, according to Statista, Steam had 120 million monthly active users in 2020. So there's a large pool of players already on the platform to sell to. I think most of us probably already know that. It's easy to imagine a few million out of that 120 million would be willing to drop $400 to take their entire PC library on the road.
More analysis from Nico Partners senior analyst Daniel Ahmad also indicates the Steam Deck could break out in ways that Valve's previous hardware just didn't.
Ahmad finds the Steam Deck solves the biggest problems when it comes to portable PC gaming. Valve has a powerful enough machine, it's priced aggressively, and Valve can monetize the hardware beyond the unit itself.
It kind of seems to be a winning business move for every party involved here. Software partners get a larger ecosystem to sell, and that's between new players signing up for Steam because of the Steam Deck, and then also existing players on Steam buying more games and investing more into the ones they play. Since they have more value out of their library now, they can take it with them and play it more.
PC game developers might have a few more headaches when it comes to platform support, but Steam likes to nudge its community to do that for them, so.
Yeah, you don't really have to make up control templates when you just have a community marketplace where people make all their own templates and you just can download whatever you want. The only part that doesn't really add up here is when Newell talks about other hardware PC manufacturers getting involved in this particular ecosystem. It's kind of hard for me to see any angle here where another PC hardware maker can get a piece of the pie in any way.
So are we saying like an HP or like a Dell would?
Yeah, Dell, something like that.
And then I guess Valve thinks they could license out the idea for the Steam Deck to HP or Dell, and then they would sell their own?
Well, this is what they tried to do with Steam machines. They had third-party manufacturers make a gaming PC, they'd load it up with Steam OS, and somehow in there it's profitable for the person making the hardware. But I don't know, hardware margins are usually very small, and they're not getting a drip of the store proceeds after the fact. So I don't really see how anyone else is going to make, even though it is an open platform, I don't really see how anyone else is going to be willing to make another version of a Steam Deck ever.
The only way they're going to do that is Valve's going to sell out a ton of these things on their own dime first. And then after that, maybe Dell like dip their toe in the water.
Yeah, if Valve cannot keep up with the supply, yeah, that might be the only way.
Not to mention, they also have to compete with Nintendo. But we're not going to talk about that yet. We're not going to talk about that yet.
Yeah, that's rough. And that comparison invites a lot of other interesting questions. But regardless, the Steam Deck looks like it makes total sense for Valve and basically all the software developers on the PC platform. Because they get a cut of that money if more people are buying games. And it seems like it's likely to sell at least a few million units, so it sounds like a pretty good play.
I mean, it makes business sense, but the big question, and this is a question I still have trouble with almost with any new piece of hardware, does anybody want it? It's an entirely new market, and I don't know if they do or not.
Yeah, I mean, so when we say everyone, it's silly. The answer is yes, people want it because it's...
Of course.
Yeah, it's a cool gadget, right? And especially if you're throwing cool gadgets at the PC scene, yes, people are going to want to buy it. So it'll sell to PC early adopters, no problem.
But I think the actual question, does anyone, meaning the larger population, not the early PC adopters, it's got a really competitive price point. They'll probably get the Steam Deck to sell a few million. I honestly think a few million is kind of aggressive here. But early adopters, like we just said, cannot carry an entire hardware platform as VR has proven.
So yeah, when it comes to breaking into larger markets, the deck kind of lands in the middle of a very strange Venn diagram, which is apparently PC gamers that go outside. Maybe
we're being a little stereotypical here, but we didn't get into PC gaming because we just needed a break from all the hiking and camping we're doing.
Oh, so there's the appeal of lounging around, you know? Maybe an executive gamer would like to retire to the lounge instead of the gamer den in the evening, I don't know.
Lawrence, can you start calling me the executive gamer?
You are an executive gamer, Bruce. You're an executive gamer on the go.
Still, if we're debating whether or not the Steam Deck can go mass market, the obvious comparison is the Switch, and it's hard to imagine the deck truly competing at that scale or anything else for that matter.
Yeah, and it's not, I don't really see any indication that the Steam Deck is even trying to compete at that scale. I mean, the thing itself, when you look at it, it just screams, I am a techie gadget for techie tech people, not, the Switch says, I'm a cute toy, you know, everyone can have fun with me. But this one is like, I got buttons and trackpads and there's more buttons on the back and you better like buttons, because buckle up, butter. So I don't know, that's kind of what it seems to me.
The Switch is already a damned institution. At 84.5 million units sold since 2017, 70% of the current active Steam user base would have to buy the Steam Deck, to rival those numbers the Switch has.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it doesn't seem very likely. Yeah. So here's the fun thing though, like Nintendo did with the Switch. It is possible that the Steam Deck will capture a new market, so not people that are already in the PC ecosystem wanting to branch out, maybe people who want to get into the PC ecosystem.
Yeah, this is the most interesting part, I think, for the Steam Deck for me. So far, we've just been making direct comparisons. People have $400, what are they gonna buy?
Yeah, but there might be another hidden market, people that really want to get into PC gaming and have been waiting to do it, but they only have $400 to spend.
I have seen this a lot. I've seen this so many times where I'm playing PC games on stream and somebody will come and be like, I just can't afford a gaming PC, that's why I watch you. Maybe they've got $400 lying around versus the $1,000 they thought they had to spend on a gaming PC. So once it comes out, the Steam Deck will be the cheapest point of entry to PC gaming, since you will not have to buy a monitor, a PC case, keyboard and mouse, any of that other fucking bullshit that I am so tired of plugging in and having not work.
So yeah, it's possible there's an entire category of prospective PC gamer that hasn't entered the ecosystem yet because of the cost and complication of the platform. And the Steam Deck seems tailor-made to reach and sell to that specific customer.
But how big is that market? And will Valve be able to convince them to get a Steam Deck? Time will tell. On both of those, I am so interested to see.
And the way that the Nintendo Wii and the Switch found gaming markets that typically weren't served, it's really tempting to think that there are tons of potential PC gamers out there that, yeah, are just waiting on a device like this. to just get into it whole hog.
But what do you think? Are you going to actually spend $400 on this, or are you going to drop your $350 on the Nintendo Switch OLED model? I think that's probably where you're going to, or you're going to drop it on maybe an extra $100, buy a Series X or a PlayStation 5 if you can get your hands on one.
Yeah, there's man, the variety of gaming hardware is getting really diverse. It's pretty cool. Thanks to my sweet girlfriend Stephanie, managed to get an OLED model pre-order this morning, so I'm already throwing my money down at that. I'll probably get this too. I mean, you know, I buy every gamer thing, so I'm well outside of like most mass market categories, I think. But I don't know. The second I saw a Steam Deck, I was like, "Yep, that's a Final Fantasy XIV machine if I've ever seen one."
I'm definitely gonna be buying, I think, the highest model of Steam Deck, but I don't know that I'm gonna be using this very often. Like you said, Lawrence, when I want a PC game, I like put my gloves on and like my helmet and like, you know, I adjust my chair over and over, and then I'm like, okay, 8 hours of Skyrim, let's go.
Yeah, you got to calibrate your retinal tracking and get your AI voice commands all set up. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. To me, PC gaming is the giant chunk of metal that costs $2 million sitting on my desk. A big, like, mouse and keyboard, and I know trackpads are trying to replace mice, but they're just not going to, so you can't really get WASD and keyboard control off a controller, and to me that's like core PC gaming. It's like Quake 3 stuff, and you still won't be able to get that off of it. But the thing that I'm really hopeful for is that even outside of gaming, all the other wonderful things that you get with a PC, you'll get with this. So if there's like 14, 15-year-olds out there that, you know, have crap jobs, and believe me, I was there, so I understand, but you really want to get to that upper tier of gaming and you can't quite afford it yet because, you know, you're getting shit on by the US economy or whatever. This is a way to sort of do a half step there. You can install Premiere and start teaching yourself how to edit. You can start teaching yourself how to do Photoshop and stuff like that. You can do all that with this, and you can mess around with mods. You can start making your own. You can even start teaching yourself how to make games. It just breaks down so many of those barriers. You could probably stream with the damn thing. So that's what I'm really, really excited about. Just a $400 PC that can go out into the market, and sure, gaming, fine, but everything else is really, really exciting to think about.
Yeah, in the end, I think we got to give props to Valve for making a platform that can really support its competitors. That's a big deal, I honestly think, and that's a really good faith business move, which you do not see very often.
Mm-hmm. You get that a fair amount from Valve. They always make sure that they get theirs. You know, they're covered. But at the same time, they do a lot of things just to generally invest in the health of the PC platform. And, you know, like with VR and stuff like that, try to develop other markets in addition to what's already there. So that seems like that's what this is doing. And one thing that's really cool is even Gaben said that the Steam Deck is a bet on Valve's part. They're just hoping that it will hit and find a new market. So I'm looking forward to seeing if the bet pays off.
I'm going to give Gaben one thing that he probably has way too many of, a big kiss on the mouth. Here you go, Gabe. Mwah.